Good afternoon. Oh, that was loud, sorry. Yep. Want to say hello?
Hello?
Yes, it's on. Hello. I'm hello. Hello, I'm Kalika Morty Sach or Kalika, and I'm the current chair of Friends of Araluen. And it's our honour today to, of course, acknowledge the traditional custodians of Mparntwe, Alice Springs, but to also welcome one of the traditional custodians, Elaine Kingwarraye Peckham. And
Thank you.
we thought we'd do this one a little differently. Instead of photos and talking to photos, we thought we'd have a little chat together, like we're having a cup of tea, except there's people watching. So before we start also, I'd like to thank the committee, and particularly Anne Davis, who's really been the hostess with the mostess of Living Histories. And we have a special program today because after Elaine, we're going to have a whole range of musical talent from Alice Springs with a surprise guest, I think, still. No surprise guest, vanished. It was a surprise for a while. So let me tell you a little bit about Elaine before we start. As we know, she's a senior Central Arrernte custodian, and she's a very well-known face around Alice Springs. And I think I met you, Elaine, in 2010 or something, when the Strong Women project, and I was working with Walter. Yep. And you're a proud mother and grandmother and great-grandmother. And so we're just going to have a little chat about different things, and then if you think you have any questions at the end, we'll see if we have time. So maybe if we can start, Elaine, by you telling us a little bit about what it was like to grow up here in Alice Springs in Mparntwe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mparntwe, Alice Springs. Growing up in Alice Springs, I was born and raised here in the early 50s, still here today with my family. Got educated here at the old Hartley Street School, and my father went before, same school that my father attended. So from there we went up to the Anzac Hill High School. Then later I didn't go and get a degree or a diploma. I finished my education in year 8. Because them days was very hard for our parents. We grew up I grew up in a happy family. We didn't have much. We were poor people. So doing that has just helped us at least get a bit of education to do what I've been doing for the rest of my life here, still today. And then I went out and got a job my first job was an office job. And I started like a trainee, doing a bit of traineeship there, and I thought, nah, this year I don't want to be working in an office and be just looking out 4 walls. And this is not who I am. I love being out. So I decided to leave that, and then I went to the Alice Springs Hospital and worked there most of my life. I was there the day it opened, from the old hospital to the new hospital. And that was an experience for me, as well as a lot of our people in here who grew up with me in Alice Springs. And I'll tell you the funny side of it, though. You know, a lot of people, and myself, I suppose, you know, they had the old hospital didn't have lifts or anything. But the day they opened the hospital, they had to, we all had to go over there, and they had some of the people sitting up on those, the laundry trolleys that they use in the hospital. And they all standing up there, and I was there as well, and they all had their eyes closed. And I said, when we got down to the ground floor, I said, you can open your eyes now. We're on the ground. So that was my first day of having that and moving to that hospital then. But don't ask me what date it was, because my memory's not as good as it used to be. But yeah, working there all my life, most of my life, being a domestic, kitchen hand, wards maid, and stayed there for quite a while. And in them days, they had the old cooks we used to work with. The Italian ladies used to work there as well. It was a little multicultural little place at the time, and us as Aboriginal people doing all what we did best was about cleaning and things like that. But now today I know there's a big difference down there when you go into hospital now. But there's a lot of ones that were there when I was there, still there today. You know, it's yeah, the old ladies, a lot of our old aunties used to work in the laundry. And with the old Chinese ladies used to do their seamers, you know, they like sewing. Yeah, so growing up in Alice, it was a little, well, I can say it was a multicultural place at the time, because there was only 5 different nationalities here living at the time. There was us as Aboriginal people, the old Italians, the Greeks, the old Afghans, and the Camelese. Just imagine what Alice is today. It's a multicultural town. And we, you know, a lot of us still friends. Like we still talk to each other. Our school, our children went to school together. But things have changed. It's not the same. But I'm a proud Aboriginal woman that grew up in Alice, and I'll still hold my head high and be proud of who I am today.
What did your dad do for work? What did your father do for work?
My dad was like everyone else here in this town. Like, they did the hard yakka. They worked so hard. He used to work at the old railways. He was a stockman. He was also a miner. And they didn't get paid as well as what people get paid today. But they do. They were really hard workers, and I'm proud of that. That's why I'm saying that. Being proud of both my parents, who has given me the strength, the courage to do what I'm doing today. And in my rest of the extended family that is still living in Alice. There was 10 of us in the family, 7 girls and 3 boys. But there's only just myself and my sister, Doris Stewart, and my brother, Peter Stewart. But we still keep speaking out and feeling like we got to educate people that come here into this town, into Alice, but in a good way. And that's the only way we're going to be together and be as a community. And share our stories. You know, sharing your stories is the best part of your life. And to get to know each other, it brings you together. And I know a lot of people that's come to Alice, and they're still here today, you know. we're just like one big family. And we always talk about those good days then and just kept our memories going. So it'll help us go on in life as you get older. And it's all about connecting and sharing and believing in each other and listening to each other.
And how did your mother stay sane with 10 children? She's a hard worker.
But then them days, we all had big families, and they laugh about it because they reckon them days they didn't have TV. That's why it's a big family. But like today, some may have 5, some may have 2 or whatever, you know. But big families, it's just, I don't know how you describe it, but we all cared for each other, and I'd lost my mum at an early age, but my sisters were my mothers. And that's how we survived in life.
Okay. So you've done a lot of work with the Aboriginal Protection Authority. Yeah? You want to talk a little bit about that? And maybe tell people what that means. What it means, the Aboriginal Areas Protection Authority, and the sort of work that you've been doing.
ARPA, Sacred Sites Act, is because this town has been built on a lot of our men's and women's sacred sites. So our fathers before us protected those sites, and now it's our turn to do the same. Although there's only the 3 of us, but we got our grandchildren and our sons with us as well, that come to these meetings to make sure that the sites are protected. And it's about caring for country. Country cares for you. That's the saying. You look after country, country look after you.
Okay, Elaine's had a very big life. And she's focused a lot of her time and energy on human rights issue and empowering women and supporting the local social and emotional well-being of her people. But she's also done a lot of training, so I just thought I'd run through some of it before we go on to our next conversation. So in 1992, you travelled to Darwin to attend Lorna Fajo's Strong Women, Strong Babies, Strong Culture program. In 1994, when you were working for Central Australian Childcare Agency, you collaborated with Justice Colleen Moore of the Family Court of Australia to seek access to justice funds, which unfortunately was not successful. In 2001, you completed your Cert 4 in Assessment and Workplace Training at IAD. And in 2003, you completed 3 modules, Culture and Corrections, Introduction to Juvenile Justice and Juvenile Justice, which is a Diploma of National Legal Studies at IAD. In 2007, you went on to undertake a women's leadership program, which we'll come back to a little bit later. But I know that IAD was very important to you and lots of other Aboriginal people. You want to tell people, because a lot of people here mightn't even know about IAD anymore. So the Institute of Aboriginal Development, which is on not Gap Road. Terrace, thank you.
Well, that goes back to say with going to school, getting an education. And it was set up by Yami Lester And one of the, sorry, I can't remember his name though, but they, yes, set up IAD for people like myself that didn't get a high education to go and study at IAD. And going there, it was just like it's about our life skills that we all have, and doing training there and getting certificates. And you know how you had to, before you went out and teach, you had to get a diploma or a degree. But at least I went out and got my Cert 4. And out of that, doing that Cert 4, it gave me and enabled me to go out and do some cross-cultural awareness programs in the health system and in the government, with the government here in Alice Springs, where people who before you moved into a flat or something, or a housing commission flat, you had to be assessed, and before you get a house or a flat. And so that was quite very handy to have and to know about it. And it goes back to speaking about your basic human rights. Yeah, but
IAD gave a lot of people an opportunity, didn't it, for education?
Yeah, they did. Because if we didn't get out and get our year 12, that was the opportunity that IAD offered us. And then you can further your education. A lot of the women got their degrees and certificates to go into courthouse and do it that two-way, learn it in English and in language. And, you know, like in the courts you have interpreters. That was there happening at IAD. There were so many different things. Land management. If you wanted to get your driver's license, you can go. It was there. It offered us the driver's license. Like a lot of us didn't worry about getting driver's license then in them days, but opportunities was there for us as well. I was one of them. Going there and getting my license from IAD. Yeah, there's Cert 4 was the main one I think with it, because like I said before, you had to have your certificate to teach. And out of that, it gave me the opportunity to do land management. It gave me the opportunity to the cross-culture awareness program. And also it gave me the opportunity to do all what I'm with the health system. And also the reason why I talk about the land management is going back on our country and caring for the country out there. Because moving out on our homelands at the time when the Land Rights Act was in, and then I don't want to talk about the intervention stuff.
Talk about the intervention.
Well, when the Land Rights Act came, it was in 1969? 76, sorry. And going back out there and getting our land back. Getting our land back, there was nothing there when he moved back out there. We had no water. We had no houses. We made our own makeshifts to sleep out there. We didn't have the showers or anything no basic things like that. And that's when the 19 intervention, 1977. No, wait a minute,
We're working out the date of horridom, the date of the intervention.
2007, eh? Yeah. Yeah, well, I was part of that with the intervention. It's very hard to speak about it, but it made me feel like they made us feel like we were nothing. That's when John Howard and Mel Bruff. But I just thought to myself, now, this is not who we are or what we are. I took one step forward and one step back. And I started my journey on speaking about the intervention at the time. And I happened to come into town one day and my son said to me, Mum, would you like to just keep an eye on one of the sons that was going to school here? I said, yeah. And he said to me, Mum, and he said to me, you need to go down to Centrelink. And I said, what for? He said, things have changed. And I said, what? He said, this is a new government now, Mum, we're under. And I said, but we're paying for our rent, we're paying for our water, we're paying for our electricity. This is after we've had houses built out then and old Atsika was around. And so that is my journey on the intervention. So I did go down to Centrelink, asked them what was happening. Going into Centrelink and looking around, and all you seen was all these business-like people with their suits on, their bags, the business bags. It was like an eye-opener for us. And then I was interviewed by one of them in the office there, and I said to him after he'd finished being interviewed, I said to him, aren't you going to document this, what we're talking about? And he said, what for? And I said, well, when I worked in an office or did office work, you'd always had to have that taken down, written down. It was a shock to me as well. And then I just said, after my interview, I just said to them, well, I want to speak to the manager. And they said, oh, the managers are too busy. So I said, what? But I said, I'm not leaving here until I actually speak to one of the managers. So I stayed around, and there's this young girl came up to me, and she's like myself, an Aboriginal young girl. And she said, Elaine, I heard that you weren't happy with your interview. And I said, no, I'm not. So we had a yarn. And I said, look, dear, I said, just look around this building. I said to her, one of them could be your auntie, one of them could be your grandmother, because there was a whole line of people standing up waiting in line to be seen. She said, yeah. Then anyway, I said, you know what? After we do have this conversation, I said to her, I'm going to go down to the library. I'm going to write up everything that was said today while it's still fresh in my head. And anyway, as we walked out the door, she introduced herself to me. I said, I thought you were the local lady from here, And she said to me, no, I'm not from here. She said, I'm from Western Australia. And I said, look, I'm sorry I was so hard on you, I said, but anyway, we got to talking and she left. And I did that. I did exact thing that I said I'll do, is go down to the library, write up what I said, what the interview was about. So that was my journey that got me down to Canberra then. I did the leadership program in Canberra. I really want to know the legality of why the intervention was put on us. I did the Fred Hollows Foundation and I did the Oxfam. I did the international, the national one. And I haven't stopped speaking up for basic human rights. I've been to Darwin, been to Canberra, travelling up on buses with a lot of us, not only myself, it is the whole communities out there that lived on their communities and at us that lived on our homelands. That's what the intervention did to us. It affected the whole thing of Alice Springs. Even in town here, in the town camps. So, yeah, that is one of my journeys with the intervention. And I but then it led to me to do with the fracking on the environment. I did all that work as well, going up to Tennant Creek and supporting the ladies that they were going to build a nuclear waste dump on her land. And yeah, we did that as well. But they finally didn't put that waste dump on her land because you know why? They stood up for themselves. This was their home. They were going to put a waste dump on their land after waiting so long for the land and getting it back. Because that land belonged to them through their family's line. You know, it could be your mother's line, it could be your father's line. Then they held on, those old ladies and young ones as well. And they end up going down to Sydney. It took them nearly 8 years fighting it in the courts in Sydney. And they won their case. It might be histories to use, but it was more than history to them. But look at the things look at what they had gone through to make sure that it's for the younger ones now, the next generation, to have a home, to be happy and go back to. I did a bit on, it's the water one now at the moment. I don't know if you went to the cinema and watched that film, Water is Life. Have you been there to see that? Wasn't that thing how they presented those young women? You know? Still speaking up for water. And all that waste dumps they're putting out there and things like that. Yeah. But it's good to see a lot of the young ones doing it now.
And the last thing you wanted to talk about, before we go on from the intervention. So Elaine and other people have written a book called The Truth About the Intervention, and you can buy it after for $10. Send it to somebody on the East Coast for Christmas. That's what because, you know, if for the people coming here, they can't imagine what it was like. But for us who were here, even Elaine and I were talking, and I'm not Aboriginal, to get off a plane and to have the army with Operation Rescue in their guns, to know they spent $21 million going out and scaring everybody when they could have asked the health department or the education department what were the statistics, the whole process of horrordom. So this is, this just helps fund, the $10 funds the cost of the book, and then they get it printed again. And it's a really important story to tell.
This is the book, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
We've published a lot of books, and this young woman here in the front you all know Barb Shaw. That's one of her daughters, and she was only 3 years old when she travelled with us to Canberra. Yeah. And that's her there.
What's this legislation got to do with saving the children? The last thing you wanted to talk about today was being part of the Strong Grandmothers group. Maybe the Great Grandmothers group. The Great Great Grandmothers group. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see Elaine's always been a social advocate for human beings. And it's something that keeps you going strong to this day. She's often sending me texts about what's on. So tell us a little bit, for the last thing, tell us a little bit about what it means to be part of the Strong Grandmothers group.
The Strong Grandmothers group, we all did a lot of volunteer work in Mparntwe, Alice Springs. Did it for nearly 10 years. We used to meet at each other's place and have a meal and talk about what's happening with the children on the streets and things like that. That's why he put it out there, kids on country, not in jail. We did get no support from the government. And it's sad to see what's happening today. You know, it's kids are kids, but we all have children. We all have great-grandchildren. They were like really our own, you know, growing up our own children in a way that we looked after our children. But life is hard for people that are out there struggling. And that's why you see those kids on the streets. And that is because of what the intervention done. You know, and the shies, they got rid of all the shies out on those communities. You know, that's what we're going through today. And like Steve and Alice, what is happening? It's not happening because of their parents don't love them. It's because it filtered down from the mothers, the fathers, to be taken away, and not taken away, but taken all that away from them. They're living out on their communities and that. But now look at this, the government's really actually giving out some money, might change, but money's not everything. Like I said before, when I started talking about growing up in Alice Springs, we didn't have much, but we still went out and got an education, you know.
We've probably got time for one question and one question, or no questions.
Well, out of the grandmothers group, when that didn't happen, I started up a strong women's alliance here in Mparntwe. There's 5 of us, 6 of us, and 5 of us First Nations, and a dear friend of mine. I think some of you know her, Berryman. She's a New Zealand lady. And she used to do a lot of work with the hospital, domestic violence. So she knew and understood where we were coming from. To have something like that for ourselves to be proud of, and having a leadership program. I don't know if you know Misha Cartwright. She's one of them. There is myself. We're all related and cousins and that. Misha Cartwright, Danella Mack, Dawn Ross, Cheryl Ross, and I think that's 5. Cheryl, Danella. That's 5. Yeah, there was 5 of us, plus my dear friend, Berryman. She's a New Zealand lady, but she went home now and retired. And I applied for that because what the intervention had done to us. And when I did my leadership program down in Canberra, I asked whether I can get some funding to start something up like that, which I did. And me and Val got some funding out of there was a little bit of leftover money from the leadership program. So they gave me some out of the women's and they gave me some of the men's funding. And that is how we set up our Strong Women's Alliance for Central Australia, because of the intervention. And I looked at a lot of the old ladies when we were having those consultations, and I said, we're not doing this for ourselves. We're doing it for you old ladies that live out on those communities. We're doing the hard work. They were and keeping their families and looking after them on their own communities at that time, doing the night watch and things like that. Yeah, it was. I think we did it for them as well. At least we had a bit of an education, and a lot of them weren't as lucky as we were and never had an education.
Let's say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for continuing to be so strong and sharing your story.
And thank you to Karika for giving me the opportunity to be able to sit here today and tell I am trying to get my book out there at the moment. It's called My Life Story, my life story and my journey of growing up, raised in Alice Springs in Mparntwe, and to be proud of who I am and still hold my head up high. And thank you, Karika, for giving me the opportunity. Sorry about that. I was just going to ask Karika. I don't think if you know anything about this was put out. In growing up in Alice, grew up in Alice, but they called it they called it the old Gap cottages. That's when the days when the assimilation days, we were all classed as half caste, quarter caste, and 3/4. This is what the government have done to us as well. But we grew up living in the gap cottages and all coming back into Alice Springs and getting homes and getting an education, making sure our children went to school, had the opportunity to send them away to get an education that we didn't have. And yeah, so this is it. The old gap cottages, we used to call ourselves the Gappies and the Happy Gappies. Yeah.
Thank you. You can have a look at that later. We're going to change to doing something completely different. We're going to have music now. Are we doing that straight away, Anne, or are we having a short gap? We're going to have a short gap. Okay. Thank you.
Let's kick off. We've got some great entertainment for you in this second half. Thanks again to Elaine for coming and sharing her story with us. Yeah. And as she said, there's nothing more important than stories, and stories shared just link us all up in the best way. So thanks very much for sharing with us this afternoon. So this is different. This is our last Living Histories for the year, and so we're going to end on a musical note. Unfortunately, when we had the Festival of the Piano, as wonderful as it was on the Saturday night, we couldn't carry the cost as just a fundraising organisation linked to Araluen. We weren't able to afford to have the two performances, have the Friday night and Saturday night. I'm sure any of you who got here for the Saturday night just realised how fantastic it was. It was really special, and we had a Living Histories then devoted to a piano tuner, somebody who'd filmed a piano tuner, and it was very entertaining, very funny. And all the dead things that came out of the piano that day was a bit of a shock to us, made us realise that whatever's in our own pianos at home is pretty normal. So anyway, thanks to the players. I'm not going to jump up between performers. There's a running order and they know where they are on that running order. So I just want to first of all introduce Thomas and Paddy, who are here with their mum Sarah, and they're going to perform for us, and then the other musicians will follow. Thanks everyone for coming.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas. When I was younger, I used to listen to my brothers practicing the piano. I was really interested to learn too. Close to the mic. I was really interested to learn too, so I started lessons when I was 7 years old. I've now been learning for about 7 years and have just successfully completed an AMEB Grade 6 exam. This afternoon, I've chosen to play two of my favourite pieces from my exam repertoire. The first is a piece by Ludovico Einaudi called Novole Bianche, which means white cloud. Einaudi is an Italian composer who writes mainly background and movie music. He wrote an album called 7 Days Walking while he hiked for 7 days. Instead of recording his trip in a diary, he recorded it in music. Novole Bianche is one of the pieces from his 7 Days Walking album. Einaudi's music is usually very atmospheric and emotional and is often very long, but as there's a lot of repetition, it often can successfully be shortened. The second piece is Fix You by Berryman et al. I don't know a lot about Berryman other than that he has worked with others on this piece of music. I enjoy this piece because it has many contrasting high and low pitches, and towards the beginning there's a terrific 1-octave G major scale which is really fun to play and sets a tone of this lively piece of music. They're both pieces I love playing and I hope you enjoy them too. I'd now like to invite my brother Paddy to come and play for you.
Good afternoon. My name is Paddy. I started playing the piano when I was 8 and have progressed over 10 years to achieve my grade 6 practical exam last year. I am now working towards grade 7. The first piece I've chosen to play this afternoon is Cancion, or Song in Spanish. Written by Manuel de Falla, a modern composer, the piece contains a recognisable Spanish influence in its form and melodies. The second piece I will play is Metamorphosis 1, written by Philip Glass, an American composer. Born in 1937, Glass became famous in the middle of the last century for his experimental and minimalist music, particularly his use of a repetitive drone-like bass and simple melody floating over the top, which creates a relaxed, dreamlike quality. The piece I will play is an example of this minimalism. I enjoy playing both pieces and hope you will find them interesting to listen to. I would now like to invite Thomas back to the stage, along with our piano teacher, Carol Adams. To finish, we will play a short, fun trio piece, 3-on-1, written by June Waybright. In playing, the title of the piece will be self-explanatory.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Madonna. It was just such a joy to hear those young men play, and the trio with Carol. How wonderful. Now, the piece I'm going to play now isn't so much a piano recital as a piece of music about a song about the piano and the very special place that the piano has in probably everyone in this room's heart and lives. The piano was always a part of my life. My mother played the piano, so I heard the piano from, the day I was born. And when I moved away from home, I didn't have a piano for many years until I was back in my 30s, and I had a home of my own and 3 young children, so I purchased an old piano. It was an old German piano. It was not concert pitch, but it was good enough, and it was a joy to have that piano back in our home, And what it made me think about was the many players and the pieces of music that had been played on that piano in the previous 90 or so years. So this is a small song about the piano and the role it's played in my life. An old piano came to our house today. Its old ivory keys inviting me to play and hear the songs played for years by many others' hands, and feel the music flow from 'neath the keys on my piano. I hear the chopsticks of the little children playing. I hear the echo of their teacher's voice saying, play the notes, feel the beat, play it softly, play it sweet. Let the music be complete on my piano. Waltzes and rock songs have mingled on its strings with thousands of love songs that lovers love to sing. Songs from wars, songs of peace, songs of happiness and and grief. Memories unlocked with keys on my piano. Memories such as these, stored with love down through the years. Memories unlocked with keys on my piano.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ben. I played piano when I was younger, and then before this year, I stopped playing for about 10 years. And I've made the recent decision to get back into it, so it's been quite fun, almost relearning how to play in a way. So still very basic. So the early performances have been very, very good. Made me a little bit nervous. This is a song I actually wrote on guitar many years ago, and I've just recently sort of arranged it for piano. So I'll attempt it. Thank you. Don't leave the light on, you know you will wake up disappointed. Your patience in its finest dress won't comfort your despair. The half-empty dishwasher's become such a sorrowful sight that leaves you with a guilty conscience and a bucket of ice. And you wake early so you can get the disappointment over with quickly and start to piece together the puzzle I inadvertently created for you to solve. But in my haste I threw out the manual and left you no image to aspire to, just a recollection of a future I once promised we'd have. And in the absence of the changing of circumstances, you've merely changed your expectations. And when the silence demands a response, you sing a song about a time you stood upon a hill overlooking our city. Was the first time that you said you loved me. The pernicious effects of our memories are coming down. You must take it off. You shouldn't have to pretend you've been living content in your home. My conscience abides a place in my head, But my intentions never fulfill my demands. I use $5 words to continue to stand. I am hindering you. Something you need. 'Cause I'm that impending heart attack you could never defy. I'm that impending heart attack you could never defy. I'm that impending heart attack you could never defy. And you tried to leave, I could hear in your impending heart attack you could never defy. Oh, now you're holding your breath so the oxygen will be sufficient to save me, sufficient to save me. But you shouldn't have to make the adjustments. I'm the reason you're lonely, the reason you're lonely. The context emerges to complex the notions that breed with false promises and resolutions. And now your favorite dress serves to remind me of when we were younger, and when I was kinder. The fall of redemption made a new sort of refuge, and I'm down on my knees waiting for fulfillment. Could you please hold me closer than I've ever been held? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ella, and I started playing piano in 2017 when I was 5. Now I'm 13, and both Susie Purcell and Fiona Paris have helped me reach where I am, which is working up towards a grade 6 AMEB exam. I can also play the viola and achieved an AMEB level 4 exam in October. I'm also the junior music scholarship holder at St. Philip's. Today I'll be playing Goodbye for Now, but Not Forever. I hope you enjoy.
Hi, I'm Bailey. I started group music lessons at Transpose Music Studio with Susie when I was 4 and proper piano lessons the next year when I was 5. In May, I got a high credit on my AMEB grade 1 and I'm working on my grade 2. I'm also learning cello at school.
Wow, wasn't that amazing? How old are you, Bailey? Oh, wow. That's amazing. Okay, well, thank you all for coming. It's been a wonderful afternoon of great entertainment in Alice Springs. We are Ivory Blue, and this is Wendy and Sally, and being here reminds me of many times that I've been playing in this room for like over 20 years for the Eisteddfod, and Wendy herself have been doing a lot of collaborate or playing around in town with various different groups like We Are One and doing the national anthem, and it's only just been recently that we decided to come together and doing another gig here in Araluen in the foyer. And so we decided, when we heard about the piano cons, thinking, why not? Bit of an interesting combination. I think we're the only instruments that have all our notes. Of course, Wendy has our strings going vertical in the piano, which you can't see. And yes, having it. And then Dan and I over here, we've been collaborating, which you'll see for a bit different. We offered a gift to this town called, I've always loved Lascia Pianga. And Dan's doing a rap. And it's kind of a gift to our town of the hardship that we've been going through with the kids. So have a listen to the words. And I would actually also like, in the same vein, to acknowledge, it's the wonderful film Under Street Lights. I've just come back from Melbourne seeing it. Yeah, it is absolutely brilliant. I saw it twice in Carlton and Elstonwick. It's going really well. Today it's in Brisbane, and it's been received by many audience who are just absolutely loving it. So, yeah, well done to them as well. So thank you. And I have to say, isn't Malcolm there doing a fantastic job with the sound? Yeah. What would we do without sound engineers, I have to say? Oh, where's the music? Lascia Pianga, mia cruda sota, e che sospiri non libertà, e che sospiri, e che sospiri non libertà. Lascia che io pianga, mia cruda sota, e che sospiri non libertà.
Yeah. Here, let my tears flow for the young kids who ain't got a home or a safe place they can call their own. So they roam, cause where else they gonna go? Hit the streets, might have to sleep in the creek, might steal a feed just to eat. Got so used to stealing, might steal your Jeep. I ain't saying that it's right, but there's deep-seated issues you ain't gonna reach when you treat children like some leeches and speak to them like they pieces of feces. It takes a village, all of us can teach. Everybody quick to point the finger like they only see their own agenda. Everybody quick to... No one bothers sitting down with them to ask. Kids just wanna be heard. Kids just wanna be free. Kids just wanna be safe. They want the same things as you and me. The heart long for liberty. We all just want inner peace. We all deserve to live a long life. Stop killing our kids over race. Let them be.
Let our tears flow. Let our soul knows. My heart is longing for liberty. My heart is longing. My heart is longing for liberty. Here let our tears flow. Let all our souls know. Our hearts
Thank you. I'm the lucky last. The piece I've chosen today comes from the ragtime era. Ragtime, hugely popular with all piano players. Everybody loves to play ragtime, heaps of fun. And of course, it had its origins around about the turn of, not last century, but the century before, around about the 1900s in the deep south of America. And Scott Joplin, of course, is the very famous exponent, but by no means was the only one. The piece I've chosen today is by a composer called George Cobb. I know nothing about him. Sorry, I should have done a bit of research. Anyway, George Cobb. However, there's a little thing about it that you might recognise. The opening three notes, if they seem a bit familiar, they were borrowed, plagiarised. No, not really plagiarised, just kind of borrowed. Hey, it's three notes, it's not a big deal. But you will recognise as the opening of one of the very famous Rachmaninoff concertos. Yeah, you'll know it when you hear it. It goes, and then like that. Anyway, so that's the piece I have chosen today. It's kind of a lucky choice, really, because although I chose the piece weeks ago, last weekend I closed the car door on my finger, and it turns out that this piece is pretty much playable most of the time with one finger missing. So I hope I get most of the notes most of the time. It's called Russian Rag, and it's by George Cobb. Thank you.
Whoa, was that any good or what? Can I just ask all the players just to stand so we can thank you again? Thank you. Oh, another reason we love this town of Alice Springs. It's really wonderful. Thank you all. Like we said, it didn't quite go the Festival of the Piano the way we planned, but we want to keep it really hotted up, that grand piano in the theatre. And we're planning, Friends of Araluen, to have another festival in the middle of June next year. So keep a lookout for it, and it'll be something special again, I'm sure. Thanks for the followers of Living Histories, those of you who come regularly, those of you who have maybe just sampled it for the first time. But we've had such a rich year of people's stories. It really has been just remarkable. So thanks everyone for coming. Thanks Malcolm. Yes, he's got the touch with the sound, and we rely on him and we muck him around, and then he forgives us, and anyway, thanks Malcolm. And Sam Druce, Real Wire Productions, if anyone needs any filming. Thanks a lot to Sam. And the troopers who are Friends of Araluen, Karlika, Elizabeth, Lizzie Verstappen, and I think Anita's gone. Thanks. Oh, Virginia, of course, yes, a stalwart, and Marty, they're just hiding back there, those two. And Elaine, thanks again. That was wonderful you shared with us. Yeah. So see you all next year. Thanks a lot.